A Stolen Life. The Charlie Thrash Story. This is a tale of a man who had everything, only to have it all taken away in the blink of an eye. Charlie Thrash was a successful entrepreneur. He had built a thriving business from the ground up, a testament to his hard work and determination. He had built a good life for himself, a life filled with accomplishments, respect, and the satisfaction of knowing he had achieved his dreams. Then, in a cruel twist of fate, he suffered a medical incident. Charlie had diabetes and had a reaction to the wrong medication. This sudden health crisis left him vulnerable and in need of support. His vulnerability became an opportunity for predators. Instead of receiving the care and compassion he needed, he was targeted by those who saw his condition as a chance to exploit him. His evil estranged sister Estelle Tolles from the backwoods of Menlo, Georgia, and twisted nephews Travis and James Thrash had strong reservation about his common wife Laura Martinez due to her Hispanic heritage, and gossiped to others about what they suspected Laura's true intention was to Charlie and his wealth. They saw him not as a human being but as a dollar sign, and was determined his lifestyle, his work, his savings, everything he had built was now at risk due to the wedding engagement to someone outside of Thrash entitlement. The summon of Toina Barina, who is the granddaughter of Charlie's brother, worked as a paralegal in Seguin, Texas, and her mission was to destroy Charlie and Laura Martinez's relationship. Well, the tension and hate boiled and came up with this illegal conservatorship, and the gun-shy grunt Judge Oscar Kazin, who grew up in Nixon, Texas, did Tanya Barina a favor for a favor. After digging deep enough, the picture will be crystal clear to you. The plot was set, and a call was sent out for the best to come. Mary C. Werner, a court-appointed guardian and friend to Judge Oscar Kazin, swooped in. This guardian was supposed to protect Charlie, to act in his best interests. However, the only interest was theirs to be protected. They had the interested family member, the judge, the guardians, and not they needed someone with financial skills to hide the income. Therefore, they activated the only top-notch CPA attorney that could keep a secret. That person was Robert Bob Werner, the husband of Mary C. Werner. One can assume that Pillow Talk was about business and how to get a portion of Charlie's wealth. They seized control of Charlie's life. His assets were frozen. His freedom was gone. He was trapped. The very system designed to protect him had become his prison. This is the story of Charlie Thrash, a story that reveals the devastating impact of guardianship abuse. It is a story of guardianship abuse, a story that shows how easily the vulnerable can be taken advantage of. It is a story that exposes the dark underbelly of our legal system. A system that can be manipulated by those with ill intentions. It is a story that demands to be told, a story that calls for justice and reform. This is not an isolated incident. Charlie's story is just one of many. Thousands of vulnerable adults across America are ensnared in similar nightmares. They are stripped of their rights, their dignity, their very lives. Stripped of their rights, their dignity, their very lives. They are left to navigate a system that often fails to protect them. It's time to shine a light on this injustice. It's time for change. We must advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves. We must demand accountability and transparency in the guardianship system. Advocacy groups are fighting for change, but they need our support. They need us to raise our voices and demand that the system be reformed. Legal reforms have been proposed, but progress is slow. We must push for these changes to be implemented swiftly and effectively. Community support is crucial. We must come together to protect our most vulnerable members. We must ensure that they are treated with the respect and dignity they deserve. There is hope for a better future. A future where guardianship abuse is a thing of the past. A future where every individual is treated with the care and compassion they deserve. Charlie Thrash's story is a call to action. Let us honor his legacy by fighting for justice and reform. Let us ensure that no one else has to endure what he did. Breaking the silence, Britney Spears and the power of public outcry. A movement that shook the world and brought attention to a hidden injustice. Britney Spears, a household name, a pop icon. Her music and performances have touched millions, making her a global sensation. Yet even she fell victim to the clutches of a corrupt system. A system designed to protect, but one that can also exploit and control. Her conservatorship, though different in name, mirrored the horrors of guardianship abuse. It was a legal arrangement that stripped her of autonomy and freedom. For years, Britney suffered in silence, controlled, exploited, silenced. Her every move monitored, her decisions made by others. Then the Hash-Free Britney movement emerged, a grassroots campaign that started with her fans and grew into a global outcry. Fans, advocates, and concerned citizens rallied to her cause. The world finally listened. The media took notice. The movement gained momentum, and the pressure mounted. Britney's story became a catalyst. It was more than just a celebrity's plight. It was a wake-up call. It exposed the vulnerability of anyone, even the rich and famous, to this kind of abuse. It showed that wealth and fame do not shield one from exploitation. Britney's case was a turning point. It marked the beginning of a broader movement against guardianship abuse. It sparked a national conversation. People from all walks of life began to question and challenge the system. It forced people to confront the uncomfortable reality of guardianship abuse. Stories of others in similar situations began to surface. But the fight is far from over. The Hash-Free Britney movement has laid the groundwork, but there is still much work to be done. Legal reforms, awareness, and continued advocacy are essential to protect those who are vulnerable. Ensnared. The legal labyrinth leading to Charlie's guardianship. The legal system is supposed to protect the vulnerable. In Charlie's case, it did the opposite. It became a weapon used against him. After his stroke, a concerned friend petitioned the court. They claimed Charlie was incapacitated. The court, without proper investigation, agreed. A guardian was appointed. Charlie was blindsided. He was given no notice, no opportunity to defend himself. His pleas for help were ignored. The system had failed him to the point that it had to remove the one person that Charlie relieved on for his safety. A distant relative had his wife removed, and their marriage dissolved. Laura Martinez Thrash and the stepchildren were wiped right off the books. Judge Oscar Kazin, Mary C. Werner, and the distance relative coordinate a co-op to strip Laura and Charlie from every penny that he made for themselves. The embarrassing experience to Laura and her children of being forced out of their home and into the streets, the character assassination of Laura Martinez, was exposed to her community, and the state guardian Mary C. Werner and Judge Oscar Kazin just sat back and smiled. When Laura sought for help and allowed her voice to be heard about this incident, she turned to Netflix. Well, that didn't go far. The gun-shy grunt, Judge Oscar Kazin, and the pistol-tooting Mary C. Werner immediately filed suit alongside of the distance, relative to prevent Netflix documentary to cease and desist the airing of the documentary. Right, we're on hold for the update. Netflix versus Barina is, July 16th, 24, Texas Supreme Court, style litigated. Meantime, Netflix Season 2, Episode 5 about Charlie Thrash has been removed to hide the truth, abusive probate guardianships, and once a ruling is reached, you will be first to know on the Charlie Thrash's story. This is a common occurrence in guardianship cases. The process is shrouded in secrecy, due process is often ignored, the system is ripe for exploitation. Power and greed, the ugly reality of guardianship abuse. Guardianship abuse is driven by greed. Predatory individuals and companies see an opportunity for easy money. They target the elderly, the disabled, anyone perceived as weak. These predators use their power to isolate their victims. They liquidate assets, sell off homes, and drain bank accounts, all under the guise of protection. Victims are often denied basic rights. They are cut off from loved ones. Their medical decisions are made for them. They are essentially prisoners in their own lives. This is not caregiving. This is abuse. It is a betrayal of trust. It is a stain on our society. Section 5, Trapped in the System. Charlie, Britney, and countless others. Charlie's story is not unique. It is a chilling echo of Britney Spears' experience and countless others. The pattern is clear: vulnerability, exploitation, and silence. Both Charlie and Britney were stripped of their autonomy. Both were denied control over their finances and personal lives. Both were silenced and isolated. The common thread? A system that is easily manipulated. A system that favors the abusers. A system that needs a drastic overhaul. Their stories are a wake-up call. Guardianship abuse is not a rare occurrence. It is a systemic problem that demands our attention. Section 6. Guardians of Greed, the enablers of a broken system. Guardianship abuse doesn't happen in a vacuum. It thrives because of a network of enablers. Judges, lawyers, and court-appointed professionals all play a role. Judges often rubber-stamp guardianship petitions without proper scrutiny. Lawyers, incentivized by fees, exploit the system for their gain. Court-appointed professionals, meant to protect, often turn a blind eye. These individuals are entrusted with immense power, yet they often fail to exercise it responsibly. They become complicit in a system that breeds abuse. Their silence is deafening. Their inaction is inexcusable. They must be held accountable. Section 7. Probate courts, where justice is lost in the fine print. Probate courts are supposed to be guardians of the vulnerable. Instead, they have become breeding grounds for exploitation. The system is complex, opaque, and easily manipulated. Cases are often rushed through, evidence is ignored, the rights of the ward are routinely disregarded. Justice is nowhere to be found. The lack of transparency is appalling. The lack of oversight is inexcusable. The probate court system needs a complete overhaul. This is not justice. This is a system designed to fail the very people it's meant to protect. It's time to demand better. Section 8, a call to action, reforming guardianship for a just future. Guardianship reform is not just a legal necessity, it is a moral imperative that demands our immediate attention and action. Charlie Thrash's story is a call to action. His plight highlights the urgent need for systemic change. Charlie, like many others, found himself trapped in a system that was supposed to protect him, but instead exploited his vulnerabilities. We cannot stand idly by while vulnerable adults are exploited and abused. We must demand reform. The stories of countless individuals who have suffered under the current guardianship system are a stark reminder of our collective responsibility. We need stricter laws, greater transparency, and accountability for abusers. Legal experts agree that the current system is fraught with loopholes that allow for exploitation. By tightening these laws, we can ensure that guardianship serves its intended purpose, to protect, not to harm. We need to empower families and loved ones to protect their vulnerable relatives. Families often find themselves powerless in the face of a complex legal system. By providing them with the tools and support they need, we can create a more just and equitable system. This is not just a legal issue. The complexities of guardianship extend beyond the courtroom. It involves ethical considerations, emotional well-being, and the fundamental rights of individuals. It is a moral imperative. We have a duty to protect those who cannot protect themselves. This moral obligation transcends legal boundaries and calls for a compassionate approach to guardianship. We must fight for the rights of those who cannot fight for themselves. Silence is complicity. Apathy is unacceptable. Advocacy is essential in bringing about the necessary changes to protect vulnerable individuals. Let's raise our voices and demand justice for Charlie, for Brittany, and for all victims of guardianship abuse. Their stories are not isolated incidents, but part of a larger systemic issue that requires our urgent attention. The time for change is now. We must come together as a society to advocate for comprehensive guardianship reform. By doing so, we can ensure a just future where the rights and dignity of all individuals are upheld.